Jaya Girivaradhari. Gopi Janavallabha Jaya Girivaradhari. Jaya Girivaradhari. Jai Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Bihari. Yashodanandana Braja Janaranjana. Yashodanandana Braja Janaranjana. Yashodanandana Braja Janaranjana. Yashodanandana Braja Janaranjana. Yamuna Tira Vanachari. Yamuna Tira Vanachari. Jai Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jai Om Vishnu Paramhamsa Privrajacharya Ashtatar Shata Shishimata Bhai Charanarvinda Bhaktivedanta Swami Shila Prabhupada Ki Jai Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Jai Nitai Gaur Premanande Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Naranam Namaskritya Naram Cheva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayam Udirayet. Reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, 3rd Canto, Chapter 9, Brahma's Prayers for Creative Energy, Text 21. Yanna vipadma bhavanat aham asam idya Loka trayopakarano yat anugrahena Tasmai namasta udarasta bhavaya yoga Nidra vasana vikasan nalinekshanaya Yanna vipadma bhavanat aham asam idya Loka trayopakarano yatanugrahena Tasmai namasta udarasta bhavaya yoga Nidra vasanna vikasanna linekshanaya Yanna vipadma bhavanata kamasaleya Smayanasta udarasta bhavaya yoga Nidra vasanna vikasanna linekshanaya Yanna vipadma bhavanat aham asam idya Lokatrayopakarano yadanugrahena Tasmai namasta udarasta bhavaya yoga. Nidravasana vikasan nalinekshanaya. Yanna vipadma bhavanat. Katrayopakarano yatanugrahena. Sapavaya yoga. Sana vikasan nalinekshanaya. Yanna vipadma bhavanat aham asamidya. Katrayopakarano yatanugrahena. Tasmai namas rasta bhavaya yoga. Nidravasana vikasan nalinekshanaya. Mataji, you want to chant? Okay. Yat, whose, Nabhi, navel, Padma, lotus, Bhavanat, from the house of Aham, I, Asam, become manifested. Idya, O worshipable one. Lokatraya, the three worlds. Upakaranaha, helping in the creation of. Yat, whose. Anugrahena, by the mercy. Tasmai, unto him. Namaha, my obeisances. Te, unto you. Udarasta, situated within the abdomen. Bhavaya, having the universe. Yoga Nitra Avasana, after the end of that transcendental sleep. Vikasat, blossoming. Nalina Ikshanaya, unto him whose opening eyes are like lotuses. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, by Charnavinda Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. O object of my worship, I am born from the house of your lotus navel for the purpose of creating the universe by your mercy. All these planets of the universe were stationed within your transcendental abdomen while you were enjoying sleep. Now, your sleep having ended, your eyes are open like blossoming lotuses in the morning. Purport. Brahma is teaching us the beginning of Archana regulations from morning 4 o'clock to night 10 o'clock. Early in the morning, the devotee has to rise from his bed and pray to the Lord. And there are other regulative principles for offering Mangala Arati early in the morning. Foolish non-devotees, not understanding the importance of Archana, criticize the regulative principles, but they have no eyes to see that the Lord also sleeps by his own will. The personal conception of the Supreme is so detrimental to the path of devotional service that it is very difficult to associate with the stubborn non-devotees who always think in terms of material conceptions. Impersonalists always think backwards. They think that because there is form in matter, spirit should be formless. Because in matter there is sleep, in spirit there cannot be sleep. And because the sleeping of the deity is accepted in Archana worship, the Archana is Maya. All these thoughts are basically material. The thing, either positively or negatively, is still thinking materially. Knowledge accepted from the superior source of the Vedas is standard. Here in these verses of the Srimad Bhagavatam, we find that Archana is recommended. Before Brahma took up the task of creation, he found the Lord sleeping on the serpent bed in the waves of the water of devastation. Therefore, sleeping exists in the internal potency of the Lord. And this is not denied by pure devotees of the Lord like Brahma and his disciplic succession. It is clearly said here that the Lord slept very happily within the violent waves of the water, manifesting thereby that he is able to do anything and everything by his transcendental will and not be hampered by any circumstances. The Mayavadi cannot think beyond this material experience, and thus he denies the Lord's ability to sleep within the water. His mistake is that he compares the Lord to himself, and that comparison is also a material thought. The whole philosophy of the Mayavada school, based on not this, not that, neti, is basically material. Such thought cannot give one the chance to know the Supreme Personality of Godhead as he is. O object of my worship, I am born from the house of your lotus navel for the purpose of creating the universe by your mercy. All these planets of the universe were stationed within your transcendental abdomen while you are enjoying sleep. Now your sleep having ended, your eyes are open like blossoming lotuses in the morning. So here we are hearing about the Archana. And this process of Archana is most personal because we are worshipping the Lord according to his desire. And to have desire is a symptom of a personality. Persons have desires. They like things done in a certain way. And it is a proof that the Lord is a person. It originates from the spiritual world. In Goloka Vrindavana, the perfect devotees also worship the Lord. Of course, they worship the Lord in spontaneous affection and love. We are following the rules of our padati. And we worship the Lord as in the mood of Lakshmi Narayana in the beginning until we develop spontaneous love. For example, in the spiritual world, when Radharani prepares something for Krishna, and the plate is covered by a very nice cloth. And here, in our Pancharatar Pradip, there is the same rule. When you bring the boga to the altar, it has to be covered. So we follow the same procedures. Or in Goloka Vrindavan, when they also have Mangalarti there. Radha and Krishna, they have to wake up early because they have to go back to their places. And it's very intimate setting. Only the most confidential devotees are there. And it is, of course, we cannot, we shouldn't speak so much about these very intimate pastimes, but the idea is that it is done early in the morning, and they also offer arati to the divine couple, and this is done by the most confidential devotees. So that means we also have to do the same. Of course, in our consciousness, we do it because of duty, not because of still of affection. But the point is that it is personal process, and it's the proof that the Lord is a person. Of course, there are people in India mainly who also worship the deity, even Radha Krishna, and they call themselves Vaishnavas, but they are not devotees because they worship the Lord as part of what is called Panchupasana. It means they worship different deities, and at the end they're supposed to become established in Sattva Guna, and they worship Vishnu or even Krishna. But they worship the Lord with the desire of attaining impersonal liberation. And the Acharyas explain that these people are not devotees, although externally they follow the same procedures that we follow. They also wake up early, they also chant mantras, they also offer incense and flowers to the deities, etc. But their goal is different. You know, this starts from Surya, Ganesh, then Durga, Shiva, Vishnu. It's given by Shankaracharya. So there are two types of impersonalists. That's interesting that Prabhupada's Pranam mantra doesn't say that he is very sweetly telling us the intimate pastimes of Radha and Krishna. And the Pranam mantra is that Nirvishesha Shunyavadi, Paschatya. He delivers the Western world from the impersonalism and Buddhism, and they're basically the same thing. The Acharyas explain that the Mayavadis are actually covered Buddhists. This Brahman that they are talking about, the Nirakara or Nirguna Brahman, is the same as voids, like this same concept basically, although they quote the Vedas and the Buddhists reject the Vedas. So there are two types of impersonalists. One is the Brahmavadis. They are not offensive. They just don't know about the Lord, about Bhagavan. And in Bhagavatam, there is this verse, Atma Ramascha Munyo Nirgranta Pyurukrame Kurvanti Haitakim Bhaktim. There are examples of such persons who were impersonalists and they became devotees. We know about them. But there are other people, the Mayavadis. The Mayavadis are actually offenders because Krishna actually explains that just like the demons attack his transcendental body, want to kill him, to harm the transcendental body of the Lord, in the same way the Mayavadis, they attack him with arguments that he doesn't have a form, he doesn't have body, he doesn't have desires, that he's Maya ultimately. Therefore, because they are offenders, they never attain liberation. The Mayavadis can never attain liberation because he cannot offend the Lord and get out of the material world because this is his world and follows his rules. Mano also explains that if you just bewildered and have a wrong philosophy, you get the reaction of this. But if you preach this philosophy to others, bewildering people, just like the Mayavadis do, then you'll get 100 times the reaction of this sin. So therefore, the Mayavadis are condemned. And here Prabhupada explains in the purport, the stubborn, it's very difficult to associate with the stubborn non-devotees who always think in terms of material conceptions. We have with Tulsi Prabhu one friend in Mayapur. His name is Madai Prabhu, disciple of Prabhupada. He went back home to Godhead. And of course, it was like some years ago, he left in Mayapur his body. So before he became devotee, he was Mayavadi, sannyasi. And he was telling us the insider secret. He was saying, you should never waste your time talking to these people. They cannot understand. I was one of them, I know. Of course, he understood by the mercy of Prabhupada. So they're very stubborn, and it is basically because it is their philosophy is based on envy. Very difficult for them to give up this envy of Krishna, of course, and of his pure devotees. And as Srila Prabhupada explains here in the purport, it is actually based on mental speculation. It is not proper Vedantic discourse, although they praise themselves as being Vedantists. This is how they are known. They like to be called like this. But Vedanta means you follow the Veda, and they actually base their philosophy on mental concoction and speculation. It doesn't come from Shastra. We know in Vedanta Sutra there is one Sutra, Shastra Yonitvat, that means everything should be based. It is so because it is explained in the Shastra. And Bhaktivinoda Thakur explains in the Dashamula Tattva Amnaya Praha. We base our philosophy on Shastra. This is the Pramana. But they like to speculate. And it is kind of, the Acharyas, Jiva Goswami calls it logical. It's like mythology. It's illogical, their philosophy. So first say that, they say that, Brahman, Satya, Jagan, Mithya, only Brahman exists. There is nothing else. And they call this Brahman Nirguna Brahman. And Nirguna means that it's without any quality. Srila Prabhupada also uses these terms, and they are proper Vedic terms, but the proper meaning of them, these terms, is Saguna and Nirguna are the terms. Saguna means the Lord is full of transcendental qualities. And Nirguna means he is without any material qualities. He doesn't have any defects. This is the proper usage of these terms. All these terms that Mayavadis are using are coming, they're originally our terms of the devotees, but they twisted them. We shouldn't think that they are the Vedantists and the devotees are sentimentalists. So only Brahman exists, only Nirguna Brahman exists. There is nothing else in existence. But then how do they explain the material world? Because obviously material world is not, Brahman is Satyam, Vijnanam, Anandam, full of knowledge of bliss, and the material world is full of dualities. So how do they explain this? They have to introduce the concept of Maya, avidya, ignorance. But then if only Brahman exists, then from where this ignorance came? That means there is duality. And that means also that Bhagavan, Krishna and the Jiva, they both come from ignorance. Because when the Brahman is covered by Maya, then it becomes the Jiva, the individual soul. And also Krishna, the avatars of the Lord, even Vaikuntapati in Vaikuntha, Narayana, they're also illusion, ultimately. They don't exist because they have body, they have form, they have desires, and they accept all this as inherently material. What is spiritual is Nirguna Brahman, the only thing that exists. And this concept of Nirguna Brahman is illogical also because they explain it as a pure consciousness, pure existence without any object, because there is nothing else. It's only him. And even talking about Brahman as him is also contradictory because him means a person. So how this Nirguna Brahman came up with the idea to create this material world cannot be because he doesn't have desires. He's not even aware of himself, of itself, should we say. How do Mayavadis answer this? It's very easy. They say, well, there is no material world. There is nothing like this. This is just an illusion. And they give the famous example with the two famous examples. One is the rope and the snake. You think that it's a snake, it's actually a rope. It's not a snake. Or the silver and in the shell. You think that's a silver, but actually just a shell. It's superimposition on the superimposition. It doesn't exist in reality. And the Vaishnavacharyas, they say, well, if there is false silver, if there is illusion, that there must be real silver. Otherwise, it cannot appear in the illusion. Like counterfeit money, like false money. That means they're real money. So this philosophy is full of logical contradictions. Their theory is called Vivartavada. Vivartavada means that the world doesn't exist. It's illusion, pure illusion. Only Brahman exists. And in this way, they contradict one of the main tenets of Vedanta. Vedanta Sutra says, I think the second sutra says, Janmadi Asyataha, Brahman is the origin of everything. That means the Brahman must be origin of the world, but they get rid of this easily. There is no world. There is no world. Nothing exists except Brahman. Because another thing is that Brahman cannot change. And material world is full of contradiction and dualities. We have birth, death, old age, and disease, and Brahman is free, must be free from this. So then, how do we explain that the origin of everything Brahman, the perfect, supreme, absolute reality, is connected with this material world, which is full of dualities? So they say, no, there is no connection. It's just an illusion. And how do we explain this? How the Bhagavatam explains this? This is called Parinamavada. Parinamavada means that the Lord has Shaktis, Parasa Shakti Vidaiva Shurate. And these Shaktis, the energies of the Lord, are achintya, they're inconceivable. And through the material energy, the Lord's Antaranga Shakti, he manifests this material world, and this is the agent that gets transformed. But the Lord himself doesn't get transformed, and he is not subject of material influence. And the Lord's Swarupa Shakti, the Lord's internal potency, this is the potency that is identical with him. Therefore, Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, Ajapisan Abhyatma Bhutanam Ishwaropisam Prakritim Swam Adishtaya Sambhavami Atma Mayaya. I appear inside my internal potency, the Antaranga Shakti of the Lord. And in this way, the Lord remains unchanged, and at the same time, we can explain the material creation logically. The Mayavadis cannot do this. Therefore, they're using the term Anirvachaniya. That means Maya cannot be explained. It is neither existent nor non-existent. And this is logically contradicting. Any object should be either existing or not existing. Cannot be both simultaneously. Anirvachaniya cannot be described with words, because, and acharyas, they are joking. They say, well, the only place where, according to your concept, Maya can exist is in your mind, in your speculations. Anyway, there is a long history of debate, of argument between the devotees and the Mayavadis. In Madhva Sampradaya, when somebody takes sannyas, part of the ritual is that he has to go in the center of the village, and he has to announce loudly, Vishnu is the supreme. Vishnu is the supreme. Whoever has anything against, I'm ready for debate. Come forward. Just like when they announced the Rajasuya sacrifice, when Krishna was announced again as the supreme person, and he had to be worshipped first. Then one of the Pandavas, he also challenged everybody else. If anybody has something against Krishna, I'm gonna kick him with my left foot. the same mood of establishing the Lord's supremacy. So Prabhupada is using one analogy of the rich businessman. Prabhupada explains that the Mayavadis, their tiny brains cannot afford them the sufficient enlightenment so that they can understand that the rich person, business person, he has his establishment and his money, his energy is there, he's working, but he himself is not transformed by this. He has his own thing. He's with his family and he does his own pastimes. And his people are working there because his energy is there. And Prabhupada says the Mayavadis cannot understand it because they're very envious. In the base of this philosophy is envy, as we mentioned in the beginning, because usually this is what happens. They try to enjoy. In other words, they want to be God, to control and enjoy. They are frustrated, they cannot enjoy. And then they decide that if I couldn't do it, nobody can do it. There is no such thing as supreme enjoyer. And when we tell them, no, Krishna is actually the supreme enjoyer. He enjoys. This is his, the story of this god brother of Prabhupada from Germany, Sadhananda, I think. He came to India and he was looking around, who is the Supreme Lord? Because there are so many deities in India. And then Prabhupada says, then he saw that actually Krishna is the Supreme Lord. Why? Because he's just playing the flute and enjoy. All others, they have to do something and he doesn't have to do anything. So because of envy, the Mayavadis don't want to accept that Krishna is the Supreme enjoyer. So even if they want to attain liberation, they have to perform some bhakti. And there are two types of people who want liberation. One of them, they want to merge in Brahman, and the other category, the yogis, they want to merge in the body of the Lord. And from these two, the yogis are more degraded because they see the Lord at the end of their practice. They see the Lord. And still, they don't want to surrender to the Lord. They want to become Him. So, the Prabhupada says that the small Muda, he wants to control and enjoy in the material world, and the big Muda, he wants to become God. And they want to be God, which is never gonna happen. It is useless dream. And the devotees, on the other hand, they don't want to become God. And even God himself, he comes as a devotee. That's another interesting thing. Because being a devotee is more pleasurable, more fun. And the devotees, they don't want to become God, but what they attain is they become even greater than God, in a sense. There was this friend of the devotees who preached some interesting philosophy. He was saying that in India, it happened in India somewhere, in Mumbai. And he said that actually Mahaprabhu is the original and Radha Krishna are coming somehow from him, emanate from him. So Mahaprabhu is the original personality of God. So the devotees went to Prabhupada and they asked him, is this true? And Prabhupada said, they asked, Prabhupada said, no, it's the other way around. Radha and Krishna combined, and that's Mahaprabhu. And the devotees asked Prabhupada, but who is the supreme? Who is superior? And Prabhupada was thinking for a while, and then he said, Radharani is the supreme. And he pointed to a picture where Krishna was offering obeisances to Srimati Radharani, and she would not even look at him. And Krishna was trying to gain her favor. And then Prabhupada pointed to another painting where Mother Yashoda was binding Krishna. And to another painting where Krishna was carrying the wooden shoes of Nanda Baba on his hat. And then Prabhupada said, Nanda Baba is the greatest. Radharani is the greatest. Mother Yashoda is the greatest. In other words, the devotee is the greatest. And the poor Mayavadis, they want to become God. And the devotees, they become greater than God. Hanuman is greater than Ramachandra. Of course, we know that's the pastime, but the Lord wants to glorify His devotees, and these are things that these people, they cannot understand because of their envy. And as we heard from previous commentaries, because they have committed many offenses, and because of this, they cannot understand. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna. Somebody wants to ask something or to say
Hare
something?
Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Is it on? Haribol. Hey. Hare Krishna.
Haribol.
Hare Krishna. Thank you so much for giving class. One thing that came to my mind, you were talking about the Mayavadis, how they're unable to get liberation.
Yeah.
And then, but you're also saying how they're kind of like demon-esque in a way. But don't the demons get delivered by Krishna when he like defeats them? So can't we in a way deliver the Mayavadis by defeating their false intellect or something like this? Like, is there a way that we can help? I know, because then you also said we can't even like really talk with them, or like it's hard to change their mind. But if anyone can it be Krishna?
Okay, if some demons are very, very lucky, they get killed by Krishna and they attain liberation. Okay. And regarding the Mayavadis, they can become devotees when they have the chance and good fortune to associate with pure devotees of the Lord. It is possible, but we should be careful, because some of them are, of course, in the West we don't see proper Mayavadis. We see just degraded Mayavadis. They don't even follow the Vedic culture. But in India there are, and we have to be careful because some of them are very knowledgeable, and therefore we should be careful. Because we can be influenced by them. Therefore, Mahaprabhu explains that the devotees should not, everybody who associates with Mayavadis, or what was that, reads Shariraka Bhashya by Shankara, is doomed. Even if he is very advanced devotee, he may be influenced. So we should be careful. Maybe it is not our call to convert the Mayavadis. Of course, we can try. We can present the philosophy nicely with respect. Prabhupada was respectful also when he was dealing with Mayavadi sannyasis. Of course, sometimes he was also very forceful. Like there was this, I heard this from Jayadvaita Maharaj. There was in India some event where often Prabhupada would be invited to a gathering of different yogis, swamis, and most of these people were Mayavadis. And once there was, after the official program, there was this informal, people were just talking and eating. And there was very pleasant atmosphere. And at one point, Maharaj was saying how at one point you could see, sense that there's something is going on, some commotion was going on. And what was going on was Prabhupada he was actually holding this guy by the shirt. It was cotton shirt. And he was saying, if everything is one, why don't you wear a raw cotton and you have put this cotton shirt on? If everything is one. So Prabhupada was sometimes, but also, so maybe that's not maybe we're not so strong to do this spiritually. But there are other ways. You can give them prasadam, I don't know, give them a book. Sometimes they like buying books. But as far as like debate, one have to see. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. I had a couple questions. Couple of questions. One was that I was reading the other day in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, this pastime of Prakasananda Saraswati and the Mayavadis being converted by Lord Chaitanya. And in that section, it's interesting, Prabhupada writes that the conclusion of Sankaracharya was that to worship Krishna, to worship Govinda. So how is it that then the Mayavadis have it impersonal if they say they're followers of Sankaracharya? And his conclusion was you should worship Govinda.
Yeah, I heard from Swatar Maharaj, there is this book called Shankara Vijayas, something like that, biography of Shankara. And there it is explained how at the end of the life of his mother, he was there and she asked some mercy from him. Please, I'm on the verge of leaving my body, so what should I do? And then Shankara was explaining to her Brahmagyan in personal philosophy. And then she told him, look, I'm your mother. Please stop with this. This is not practical. Just give me the real thing. What is the real? How can I attain liberation? How can I be saved? And then he told her, just worship, just chant the names of God and worship Krishna. Govinda, Bhaja Govinda. I don't know. I'm not expert, but I guess that here and there he said that one should worship Krishna, and there is also this quotation from Shankara that he says, even when I attain liberation, I'm part of you, you're not part of me. The wave is always part of the ocean. The ocean is never part of the wave. So here and there are statements like this scattered in his teachings, but I guess the main body of his writings and teachings is impersonal, because after all, this is what he was commissioned to do by the Lord himself. But also there are scholars who use Shankara to come to personal conclusion. There are also people like this. He himself was not an offender though, but his followers became offensive to the Lord. He somehow managed to present the impersonal philosophy without offending the Lord, because he's the Lord's pure devotee. I don't know, maybe something like with modern forms of religion. We know that the origin was something, and then the followers they in Kali Yuga twisted the teachings. Like I was hearing this when Saint Paul started to preach the gospel, Christianity. He went to Greece, to Athens, and there he saw these people worshipping their deities. They're worshipping the demigods in small shrines. They were offering them food and clothes. And Saint Paul said, "Well, what kind of God is this? God is all powerful. He can feed himself. He doesn't need somebody to build a small shrine for him and to feed him." And then this devotee who was giving lecture, he said, "Well, I feel like telling Paul, if the Lord can feed himself, he also can speak for himself. He doesn't need you to go around the Roman Empire and talking on his behalf." So the original philosophy is personal, obviously, but in the course of time, it becomes impersonal. Lack of understanding. So I guess something like this happened also to the Mayavadis.
And the second question was, so the Mayavadis, we hear that they're looking for impersonal liberation, mentioning, merging into the Brahman effulgence. So is it that, and then we hear in the Bhagavatam that after they reach that stage, they come back down. But isn't it that the Brahman effulgence is in the spiritual world? So how does that work?
Yeah. I heard from Banu Swami that it is what was that? Jivan Mukta, I think the concept. One can, and also from Prabhupada, if you read his purports, they imagine that they are liberated. They imagine Ashuddha Buddhaya, but because they have impure intelligence, and impure intelligence means you may be free to some. I mean, you may be free from the false ego in a sense that you don't identify with your body and mind, but still the chitta is the polluted consciousness, is still active, and that means you still are under the illusion that you're the controller and the enjoyer. You don't accept the lotus feet of the Lord. So you have to be degraded, because that's still offensive, and you won't be allowed to enter the spiritual world. And there is in Brihad Bhagavatamrita, there is a description of the place of Shiva, which is outside, and then there are these people, they want to, they actually go there, but then Shiva pushes them back to the material world, because they refuse to surrender to the Lord, and he doesn't like this. Devotees don't like when non-devotees bother the Lord. Okay. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. My question is, in one lecture, Prabhupada was saying how the problem with Mayavadis is that they say that everything is Leela of the Lord. So, just for our understanding, if they say that, just like for example, we say Supreme Lord he's Atma Ram, he's self-satisfied, he's not in need of us, but for purpose of enjoyment, he has created all of us. So, if they say just for the purpose of enjoyment, the Brahman, which is unchangeable, manifested Maya, and then the whole thing came up. Then what can we say?
But they don't say that. They don't say that there are pastimes of Brahman, because it is contradictory. Brahman is pastime means that you're a person, but Brahman, Nirguna Brahman, is not a person. He's not even aware of himself. He doesn't have desire to create anything. Understand? It's contradictory. Pastime means person, personal desire. Therefore, there's one book by one devotee, and there he was quoting some Buddhist, and this Buddhist was explaining how finally now he's in the emptiness, and he's not attached to anything. And finally, the nirvana description, kind of description of nirvana. And then this devotee was pointing out, but this is still a personal decision. He wants to be zero, and this is still a attribute of a person. It's desire. So that means he's still a person, and therefore they have to come back from. That's what Prabhupada explains. Even if they attain liberation, if they are not offensive, they may attain liberation, but they have to come back, because the nature, the dharma of the soul is to be active. And how long you can be just relieved from suffering and be happy with this? Like you are cold, it's cold outside, and you get inside the temple, and it's warm and nice, and then you, for a moment, you just feel very happy because you're relieved from the suffering. How long you can stay in this state? Not very long. Then you have to do something. And because the only thing they know that they can do, that is it's material, they have to come back to the material. So pastime and Brahman and Nirguna Brahman and pastime, this is not going to work. It's contradicting. Yes, bro.
No,
Talking about Mayavadis, how crazy they are. I remember when I used to be very into reading Mayavadi philosophy, and before I met the devotees, and thinking back on it, I think I was so very, very crazy. Very crazy. And I was thinking that when I go out for book distribution, I meet a lot of people. I think, oh, he looks so spiritual. He's going to love these books. But then they start saying, oh, I'm God. I wrote these books. That all the truth comes from within. I know that yesterday I met someone, he had like amulets on. I said, oh, is that the eye of like Hurrah? We're like, oh, this is so awesome. Yeah, these crystals, what are these for? He says, oh yeah, like I'm God, but I'm just putting these on because I need to stay grounded in the material world. And it's like, oh, it's like God needs to stay grounded in the material world. Right, yeah. So I guess I gave him a cookie, but I think yeah, what to do, Prabhu? What to do? It's just it's very weird. I see that. I think, wow, I was so crazy, and then I also meet these crazy people, and it's very I really want to leave a book with them. So what to do, Prabhu? How do you distribute to these Mayavadis? How do you distribute to God?
Maybe I'm not. Maybe you should ask like somebody like Vaisheshika Prabhu or his followers, or Navina Nirda Prabhu when he comes. I'm looking for easy victories. I don't bother with these people. But I just, when I see that they're like super envious, and I try once, and if I see that it doesn't work, there are plenty of people around who actually are favorable, and they will take book. It's just like when paramedics come and there is a war and there are many injured soldiers, and they come and they look around, and the first thing they do, they want to determine who actually has a chance to live, and they try to help this person because it's emergency. There is limited time and many people around, so we have to be practical. So I don't usually bother with these people at all. But that's that's what I said. You ask the advanced book distributors, maybe they have some.
You're God? This book is about you.
Yeah, right. It describes your glory. Okay. Thank you very much. Granth Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Shil Prabhupada ki jai. Shri Radha Govinda ki jai. Nitai Gaur Premanande.